What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Pros and Cons. Finally, after a result that we was all kind of expecting to go absolutely in the shit pan after last season's disgraceful performance, we actually put in a resolute defensive performance that had this kind of togetherness about it, and we come away from it with, feeling better, especially, in comparison to last year. So, we've got a couple of positives to talk about, a couple of negatives, but all in all, relatively happy, I would say, coming away from Anfield with a point. But what do you guys think? Okay, usually the way we do this show, and people who've been watching this for a while now will know that we start with the negatives and end with the positives. But the positives are kind of fresh in my memory at the minute, so I'm going to switch it around a little bit. And what's wrong? Nothing wrong with switching things up anyway, is there? So we're going to switch it up a little bit, and we're going to discuss the positives next, and then maybe a couple of things I think we could improve on. But number one is, thank God Rafael Varane is back in this team. He was one of the main positives and man of the match for me yesterday. I said on the review after the game that when it comes to in-box defending, what you need, leadership, he was perfect. Absolutely perfect in that back line, was commanding. His spatial awareness is absolutely spot on. On the ball, he's not too bad. He's got the pace if he needs to go 1v1 with a certain player. Obviously, he has his injury issues, and that's been, you can't get consistency out of that in terms of a partnership at the back, that kind of solidarity, if you will. But you could tell that was a seasoned kind of experienced backline. Chivy mentioned it in the review. You got about 65 years between them. Varane's won World Cups, Champions Leagues. We know he's a very good defender, and we have missed him. And it begs the question to what's really gone on behind closed doors with him and Eric Ten Hag. But I'm hoping that they've mended that relationship now, because if you can play in most games, any team with Varane in it is better, right? So, yeah, really happy with his performance, man of the match. And without him yesterday, we probably would have lost that game. So, well done to Varane. The next one, you have to go with Kobbie Mainoo. Really, this 18-year-old kid is super impressive. And it begs the question, how high is this kid's ceiling? Honestly, because to go at Anfield when you're 18 years old, when you know your team last season got absolutely battered, and you're in the midfield, you're against physical players like Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, these kind of guys, talented European players, and they're not even just that, just dealing with everything around you. I think Eric Ten Hag mentioned something about his scanning, speed of thought, ability on the ball, the pass that he played for Garnacho, which would have been an amazing assist if Garnacho had a bit his wits about him. I just thought he was really, really composed, and something that always falls back to me about Kobbie Mainoo when I talk about him is how his coaches speak about him. Anyone who's coached him before, they always say he never gets too hot-headed or too high or too overconfident, but then equally never gets too low. He's very measured, and I think you can definitely see that in his performance. His composure would be 99. He was solid yesterday, and I think when you're talking about a midfield now, we've been crying out for Amrabat, Mainoo to play together. Just a bit of composure and control. Now, obviously, when you go away to other teams, when you're not at Anfield, we will control the game a bit more. We'll definitely create more chances. So I want to see a midfield of Kobbie Mainoo, Amrabat, and Bruno. I think that has to be the game for West Ham. But we'll see what Eric Ten Hag does, because he obviously loves McTominay. I think once again, I keep referring back to previews and things, but this is what we discussed. I think team performance was important yesterday. It felt like it would have had to been similar to Bayern Munich in that regard, where it was kind of, everyone's back to the wall performance, get your spears out, and they're not getting into this box, and we defend together as a unit. We press together as a unit at times when we need to, and we go forward together. And they did that. So for all these question marks that were coming out over the past couple of weeks about, the team not believing in the manager and throwing toys at the pram and blah, blah, and all these kind of things, it's obviously not true. Well, at least with the players that were on the pitch. I thought they showed real togetherness, fight, spirit, character, everything you want when you're going away. There was lack of quality, and that's the only thing I'd say about the team. But together, as a unit, we worked for each other yesterday, which was really, really nice. So, overall, a kind of conclusion of the positives. Again, don't usually do this, but I feel like United, after a rough couple of weeks out of the Champions League with some horrendous performances, couple of sketchy performances in the league, I felt like we really needed that. And, you've got Van Dijk and Klopp throwing the toys out the pram when you've done something right. They're all talking about, they're buzzing with a draw, or, Klopp was talking about that's the most dominant we've ever been against United. But Liverpool weren't even that great. Honestly, they weren't even that good yesterday. So you look at the injuries that we've got to the squad and the team that we put out, I think most people would have taken a 0-0 draw, right? So positive for me. The few negatives I want to discuss, and they're not like, I'm outraged and really angry about this. It's more of a McTominay for me. I know he was captain yesterday, and I know when it comes to fight, spirit, character, all them things I've just been talking about, he does it. You don't doubt his commitment. You don't doubt how hard he works in training. That's why managers consistently pick him, because he's the right character. But when I mentioned lack of quality before, he's in that conversation, because when you get into important moments, especially at Anfield, where there is a lack of chances, and he's receiving it on the half turn, or he's receiving it in a tight bit of space, he hasn't got the capabilities to pick a pass or dribble past the man. He's stiff. He's way too stiff. Obviously, we had no one else really to play there, bar Hannibal, Donny van de Beek, maybe, who I would have brought on in 70th minute. But he just doesn't offer enough for me in midfield. And Erik ten Hag has been really persistent with picking him. And I get he's scored. I think he is our top goal scorer. But apart from that, I mean, how many times... I don't need to go through it. You guys already know he doesn't offer enough. So now going into these next games, like I said before, I want to see Bruno, Mainu and Amrabat. Please stop picking McTominay, especially as a fucking 10. Don't play him as a 10 anymore, because that killed our attack at times. The red card that Diego Dallo got, again, this is none of the players' fault. This is more the rest being fucking idiots. To get sent off twice for dissent, I don't know if that's the first time that's ever happened. But first of all, Dallo was right, because it came off Salah's foot. So there's a sense of injustice there. So he's obviously outraged and he's angry about it, because in the last minutes he could get a throw-in, go and score, or a set piece or whatever. So he's obviously outraged, and then he books him again and sends him off in the dying minutes. Like, if we would have conceded then, I mean, that just would have, the whole game plan and everything they've worked for would have gone to shit because of one stupid fucking decision. So I hope they overturn it. I don't know if they will or not, but that for me was just, like, I thought the ref wasn't great anyway. There was a couple of decisions that didn't go for us, and that's not me being biased. That was just watching it like, have you not given a foul for that? Or have you not done that? Yeah, red card was very, very silly. Well, it was 2 yellows, but it was very, very silly. But we still came away with a draw, so it didn't affect it in the grand scheme of things again. I don't know whether to, for like the last negative, talk about individual attackers or... I'll just say collective, because I didn't think it was very impressive yesterday. I mentioned Garnacho's chance before, not taking it. Højlund had a really good chance on his right foot, which went just straight at Alisson. Højlund, in general, he didn't hold the ball up enough for me. He didn't... sometimes you're not getting chances and you're not scoring goals. You do other things, off the ball or when it comes to feet to help your team out, right? And we've seen that in the Champions League, including goals. But yesterday I'm watching it, I'm like, he's played into him, and you need him to hold it up so runners can get right in behind him, and he's getting bullied physically. He's struggling a little bit at the moment. He definitely needs more service. We saw that stat. Everyone saw that stat that came out, that he's had the least passes in the league. So I agree. He definitely needs more service. And I do think he'll become a good player. But he's raw, and he needs an experienced striker alongside him, I think, to take that pressure off a little bit, especially when you go into Anfield. I'm not doubting his ability, but I just think he's in a bit of a rough patch at the minute. And then Antony, likewise, on that right-hand side. I mean, it's so frustrating. He does a lot of things where it's like very one left footed, just usual behaviour patterns that I'm sick of seeing, to be honest with you. For an £85 million player, you need to be the best player. He was the most expensive player on the pitch. I could just leave it at that, can't I? And he looks like the cheapest player on the pitch, lacking quality in certain areas. So I'm worried about the attack. And I think the lack of goals has been a problem all season, right? So that was a negative for me. So, all in all, again, I've done a bit of a half-time conclusion. Now we've got a full-time conclusion. We go away from Anfield with a point. We now play West Ham and then Aston Villa, I think, on Boxing Day. 2 very tough games. I think West Ham are only a point behind us in the league after they won 2-0 with goals from Kudus. I think that's going to be an interesting battle in the next game. I don't know how I feel. I don't feel any different, to be honest. I don't feel any more positive. I don't feel any more negative about going into them games. I still think it's going to be a slug. I think it's going to be tough. I think West Ham are going to cause problems of their own from set pieces. And they've got Jared Bowen, Mohamed Kudus, James Ward-Prowse, who could put it on a 10-piece. Like, they will cause problems, and that'll be a tough game. So even if you lose that, you go behind West Ham in the league. You start dropping down 8th, 9th. you need to put a string of results together now, especially when you play Aston Villa as well, because they're flying at the moment, and they visit Old Trafford on Boxing Day. So, I don't know, if you can go into them games with a couple of wins, you go into the new year with positive, right? Draw at Anfield, beat West Ham, maybe you can draw against Villa. And you start getting players like Lissandro, Casemiro, these kind of guys. So I'm hopeful we can start building a little bit momentum now, and we can start, patching up midfield with Mainu, Amrabat, Bruno. We need these attackers to start coming into form. We need Rashford to start scoring goals, Garnacho, Anthony performing better, because if we're trying to make a push for that top 4 or 5 spot, whatever it's going to be, or at least go far in the FA Cup, then these need to start clicking. Because defensively yesterday, we was okay. Midfield, I think we'll be okay if they select certain individuals, but the attack needs a lot of work on. So let's hope Manchester United can do that. Thank you to everyone who has watched Pros and Cons, the continued installment after every single game we have. Please do leave a like on the video if you've enjoyed this one. Subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys in the next one.